Hi guys, it's Zone here from InvestinU again with today's tips, tricks and shortcuts. Today's top tip, we're going to be using the Autosum feature, a very popular feature in Excel. What we're going to talk about today is the full potential and its nice shortcuts. What I'm also going to do is I'm just going to talk about one of the small features that I left out on last week's video when we spoke about the autofill. So what you're going to notice over the next couple of videos, there's a lot of auto when it comes to Excel. Autosum, autofill, autofit. There's quite a few of these, and you'll see these as we progress through each of the videos. As always, let me just step out of this presentation here, and I'm going to jump straight into my Excel file here. So we're just going to start with, as I said, the Autosum feature. Now, because the sum function is so widely used in Excel, okay, and I'm sure you've all used it. It's probably one of the first formulas you'll learn how to use when it comes to Excel. But one of the first formulas you learn is that Autosum feature, or is that sum function. So what Microsoft have done is they've come up with a button for it. And I'm sure at this stage you've probably all used it. It's called the Autosum button. Now, because that Autosum button is so widely used, it's actually found in two different locations. The first is under your home tab. You can see that here. So I'm going to go to my home tab. If I look to the far right here, you can see the Autosum button. So that's where the first place you'll find it, under the home tab. The second is under your formulas tab. So under the formulas tab, there it is there, nice big button, the Autosum button. So both of them will do the same thing, generally used for kind of summing up, but you can also find other formulas in there. You can see if I click on the drop down, I can use it for averaging, counting, max, min. There's quite a few, but the majority of times it's used for summing up. So let me show you very quickly. So if I click on the cell here, you can see I've got my participant numbers for 2019. I want to work out January's total here. So I click where I want the formula to appear, and I click on my Autosum button, whether that be in the home tab or the formulas tab, and you can see straight away it pulls in the formula equals sum, and I'm putting in the range B3 to B6. I hit the enter key. And here we go. One of the features that we spoke about before, we spoke about this last week, the autofill. So what else can we use that autofill for that we didn't discuss last week? Copying formulas. So what I'm going to do now is I want that same formula copying across for the other 11 months. So I grab my lovely autofill here, get that thin crosshair, I drag it across for the other 11 months, and you can see it does the job nicely. So if I come over here, I can do the same thing. Autosum, look, equals sum B3 to M3. By the way, you can also do this if I highlight the individual values, and then where I want the total to appear, and then hit the Autosum button. Look what it does. It gives me the total, so it doesn't give me the formula first. I prefer when I'm doing these sort of things to actually see the formula. Is that correct? B4 to M4? Yes, it is. I hit the enter key, and guess what? I can use my autofill then to copy it down. Brilliant. Absolutely super. Well, guess what, guys? It gets even easier. And this is what's brilliant about it. The brilliant part about the Autosum is it has its own shortcut key. So I don't have to go to my home tab to look for the button or the formulas tab. So Alt and equals is the shortcut key for your Autosum button. So again, if I click where I want my total to appear, I simply hit Alt and equals. Look what it does. Equals sum. Brilliant. B3 to B6. I hit the enter key and I grab my autofill and I drag it across. And I can do the same thing over here. Look, click on the cell. Alt equals. Hit my enter key and simply drag that down. How good is that? So it's always good to know that these things have their shortcut keys. Little tip for you, kind of a tip within a tip, let's call it that. If I'm using that Autosum button and I'm suddenly, it's a week down the road, I'm thinking, what was that shortcut key Owen mentioned? Here's the thing, go to the button, hover over it. Look, Microsoft have these brilliant screen tips. All I have to do is hover over it and you can see it's saying to me equals sum, Alt and equals is the shortcut key. So if you forget any of these shortcut keys, go to the button, okay? Hover over it, and you can see it'll tell you what that shortcut key is. Now, believe it or not, and I'm just going to finish with this one, it gets even quicker. Watch this one. Now, again, depending on where our totals appear, in an ideal world, all our tables are nice, neat little tables like this, but watch this. If I highlight all the values and where I want the totals to appear, and then hit my Autosum button or my shortcut key, look what it does. Brilliant. Fills all the answers in one go. And there's lots of different ways you can maneuver that, by the way, guys. So if I undo that for a second, and maybe I wanted my totals down here for whatever reason, watch, highlight. Where do I want the totals to appear? Imagine I want the totals appearing down here, hit my Alt and equals, and look what it does. And again, the great thing about that is All these cells here then will include the formula. So if I put any values in here, you can see your formula's changing. In this case, I wanted to keep it nice and simple. I highlight all my values and where I want the total to appear. Alt and equals. Hey presto, job done. And there's our Autosum. One last thing just to finish with. I spoke about it briefly just there, and we spoke about it last week, and it's a great little tip to have when you're using this autofill and working with formulas. Here we have a piece of data. You can see on this particular piece of data here, let's find out what we're working with. Remember one of the very first tips I gave you, how to navigate your data, control on your arrow keys. So if I do control arrow down, look, so I've got 1,599 records. Now I want to be 100% sure that that's definitely the bottom. So I hit the down arrow again, control down arrow, and it brings me right down to my 1 millionth plus row. So if I go back up to the top, let's come over here. I want to work out my VAT rate. Let's say it's 21%. It is at the moment. But again, that could change as things have. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say, okay, take my order amount and I'm going to multiply that by my VAT rate in K1. Now here's the thing. So when you work with formulas, you know you have a relative cell reference and an absolute cell reference. So do I want the E2 moving down as I copy this formula down? Of course I do. I want it becoming E3, E4. So I'm going to leave that cell reference, what we call relative. Then I want to make the K1. I don't want that becoming K2, K3 as I copy that down. So I want to make that absolute. How do we do that in Excel? We'll put our dollar signs in, right? Well, here's a nice little other tip. If you've used the absolutes, you can also use F4. So if I use function key 4 top of my keyboard, look what it does, puts the dollar signs in. I hit the enter key, and here's the big one for you. I now want to copy that formula all the way down to the end of my data. How do I do it? What would most people do? They'd grab the autofill and start dragging down themselves. But a great little tip to have, and one we're going to finish with today. Go to the autofill and double left click, and look what it does. It copies that formula all the way down to the end of your data, just like that. Absolutely super. A couple of little ones in there today. Keep it nice and short and sweet today. Don't forget, guys, to like us on Facebook. You'll find us on Instagram. You'll find us on LinkedIn. If you want to subscribe to all of these videos, as I love putting up videos, you'll find us on YouTube as well. We have our own channel on YouTube, and you'll also find us at www.InvestinU.ie. As always, guys, stay safe, stay tuned, and I'll see you all next week.